Welcome everybody online. Welcome everybody in the room here. Let's convene this meeting. This is our 5,635th meeting. Welcome. Starting the meeting today, I've got to share some sad news with you. Our long-standing member, Naren Soni, passed away the other day. We received the information just today, and he's been an honorary lifetime member. He passed away on Saturday, and until the pandemic, he was one of the most faithful attendees of our meetings. Everyone knew when he showed up because due to his restaurant schedule, he couldn't make it on time. So he would always walk in with a few minutes late. Has, of course, a great marketing effect. Everyone knew he was there. I would like to honor him. Would you please stand for the free bell ring? Thank you. He'll be very much missed. Moving on to more positive things. Walt, would you join me, please, for the thought of the day? Now I'll move out of your way.
Thank you, Timo. Good morning. I want to do a slight commercial at the beginning because we need more people, more members to be able to present the thought for the day. So please contact me. Otherwise, I will be contacting you. I was trying to find something that related to Rotary, and I found within the peace building initiatives that Rotary does some important thoughts that I want to share with you today. Today, over 70 million people are displaced as a result of conflict, violence, persecution, and human rights violations. Half of them, 35 million, are children. As Rotarians, we refuse to accept conflict as a way of life. Rotary projects provide training that fosters understanding and provides communities with the skills to resolve conflicts. Rotary creates environments of peace. As a humanitarian organization, peace is a cornerstone of our mission. We believe when people work to create peace in their communities, that change can have a global effect. By carrying out service projects and supporting peace fellowships and scholarships, our members take action to address the underlying causes of conflict, including poverty, discrimination, ethnic tension, lack of access to education, unequal distribution of resources such as food and water. Our commitment to peace building today addresses new challenges, how we can make the greatest possible impact, and how we can achieve our vision of lasting change. We are approaching the concept of peace with greater cohesion and inclusivity, broadening the scope of what we mean by peace building and find more ways for people to get involved. Rotary's 4 roles in promoting peace as its members are practitioners, our work fighting disease, providing clean water and sanitation, improving the health of mothers and children, supporting education, growing local economies, directly builds the optimal conditions for peaceful societies. Educators. Our Rotary Peace Centers have trained over 1,300 Peace Fellows to become effective catalysts for peace through careers in government, education, and international organizations. Mediators. Our members have negotiated humanitarian ceasefires in areas of conflict to allow polio vaccinations to reach children who are still at risk. Advocates. Our members have an integral role as respected, impartial participants during peace processes and in post-conflict reconstruction. We focus on creating communities and convening groups that are connected, inclusive, and resilient. Rotary creates environments where peace can happen. Your presence here and the projects that you work on allows peace to become real in this world today. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. Moving right along to our speaker. Robert, can you come up here to introduce our speaker, please? We'll get to the questions on Zoom in time. I guess we'll go through the questions here first and then look at the chat box. Keep them succinct out of respect for her time, and one question per person.
Well, thank you, Timo. It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker this morning. As myself, having participated in junior achievement, I remember as if it was yesterday when I was at JAWS, Junior Achievement Reads and Scrapers, as I believe junior in high school, and Dad taking me to then the All-State headquarters. And it was a really great time and an excellent opportunity to begin to learn how to run a business. So our speaker today, Alana Copeland, first experience with junior achievement was as a 5th grade student receiving lessons at Prairie View Elementary School in Downers Grove, Illinois. She began volunteering with junior achievement of Central Illinois while attending Bradley University, and was brought onto the JA staff as a program coordinator and then operations coordinator to assist with program implementary and managing their CRM database. She joined Junior Achievement of Chicago this year to continue overseeing program implementation for Chicago schools. If I'd like to please introduce Alana Copeland, you please come up.
Thank you. All right, so thank you so much for having me speak with you guys today. I am a big fan, as you can already tell, of Junior Achievement. I've had it for a very long time. And what I like to tell people is that even if you think that you haven't had it, you probably have. So if you're ever able to tell me the name of your teacher, I can go back into our database and probably find that class. I'm a very, very big fan of our programs, and so I'm very thankful that you guys gave me the time to speak with you today. I'm ready for the next slide. So a little bit about me. I know Robert already covered a lot of it. So I did start junior achievement when I was in 5th grade back in 2008 at Prairie View Elementary School. And so what was important for me at that time was that somebody was taking the time to come into my classroom and really apply those things that I was hearing every day from my teacher to a real life application, right? Because your teacher can tell you something, your parents can tell you something, then maybe the 3rd time you hear it, you'll take it seriously. It's kind of how a lot of kids operate. And so I was definitely the same when I was younger. I became a volunteer when I was working with Bradley University. So I was volunteering in my own free time. I was pursuing a Bachelor of Arts in Social Work. And so that's why I started volunteering with Junior Achievement. I graduated in December of 2019. So I got out just in time to have an actual graduation in person, which was lovely. And then I moved to the J of Chicago office in January of this year. So I've been with Junior Achievement for quite some time in a lot of different capacities. So our mission is to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in a global economy. So every single time we are delivering programs, that is our goal, our mission, our aim. is to help kids understand the different skills that they need, the different knowledge and backgrounds that they need to pursue the future that they want, to realize their full potential, whatever that may look like. The reality is a lot of children just don't really have the capacity, either through their teachers, their school's network, maybe it's cost prohibitive, to be able to discuss these things in school, in the classroom. And so our goal is always to bring these programs to schools where maybe it's either, the teacher might not have the skills or necessarily the network to, let's say, get an astronaut into the classroom speaking to students. Well, that's where we can step in and do something. Or maybe, they need help with scholarships, with resume building and writing before they even get out of high school or while they're in high school. We can get somebody to step into those classrooms and help them with that. So that's really is our main goal. Last year, we reached 230,000 students across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. So nationally, we also reach about 5 million students per year, and that number is increasing every year. So this is post-pandemic numbers. We used to be much higher. So if you're kind of familiar with our organization, those numbers might seem a bit low, but really our reach is quite wide when you're thinking about us being prohibited from visiting classrooms, from not really being able to see those students face to face for quite some time. We are very proud of these numbers to be able to reach 250,000 students in one school year. So why JA? This is from a report from 2020 from Ipsos, and so they actually reconnected with a lot of students who have been through our programs before. And so then they said, how important of a role did junior achievement play in your belief that you can achieve goals, your confidence in new situations, your professional development, your decision to pursue further education, your personal development, and your career path? And these numbers, and you'll see them on the next slide, increase whenever a student goes into the same field as their junior achievement volunteer. It's really about, just having embodiments of the kinds of futures that the students want in their classroom, telling them, okay, well, I went to school for education and then I changed my career last minute and now I work in this field. Or, we've had people who said stocks, finances, investing, those weren't things that my family talked about in our home. That just wasn't talked about. So the first time I ever heard about that stuff, and that's the field I work in now, was with junior achievement. So even if, they're taking a more traditional path to their career that they want, even if it's a non-traditional path, we're just trying to get those futures, those career pathways in front of them now. So JA alumni are also more likely to pursue higher education and to start businesses. This is from that same 2020 report. And they're also more likely to attain bachelor's degrees than the general population. So again, I'm not necessarily saying that every single job that a child might want or that somebody might want later in life necessitates like having a degree, but it is nice to know ahead of time whether or not you need one. I think a lot of the times when we're thinking about college and career readiness, we're talking about high schoolers, maybe we're even talking about college students. What a lot of people don't realize is that those decisions are made quite young. A lot of students are trying to go into CPS schools that, let's say, focus on fine arts, multi-language or dual language academies, STEM high schools, or electives and extracurriculars that focus on these specific career paths. And they need to start making those grades and making those decisions in middle school, in elementary school. And so in our opinion, the quicker that we get those topics in front of students, the better. And I think that can really only benefit them in that capacity. So quick show of hands, has anybody ever volunteered for junior achievement? So we got a few in the room. Has anybody ever had junior achievement, or when I was kind of saying things, maybe it jogged your memory, or maybe when you were in school, you made like a product or something that you had to sell through a company? I'm seeing some heads nodding. Robert's raising his hand. So yeah, a lot of people have some familiarity with junior achievement. So I'm going to go, and I see a thumbs up in the chat as well from Lisa. So a lot of people do have familiarity already with our organization, but I'd also like to talk about, our standard programs and then what our programs look like today, because it has evolved quite a bit over the past few years, and I do think that that's for the better. So this is a standard program for elementary schools. And so a lot of the time when I say, oh, we teach financial literacy to kindergartners, people go, do you really? And I say, yes. If you think about somebody who is 5 years old, their parents are using money already. They probably have money or are using it in some capacity. They see their parents going to work. They understand maybe their parents going to the bank, but they're not quite sure what happens there. Or you say, do you know about different decisions you can make with money? And they might say no, or they might say, I can get money or I can use it to buy things. And that might be their full extent of their knowledge. So we're really just trying to get them used to decisions like earning, saving, spending, donating their money ahead of time, getting them to understand, the difference between a checking account and a savings account. Things like that can be discussed honestly with 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and that's what we've discovered in our classes. So again, I'm just talking about real life, important life skills that these children need at a very, very young age. And then, so this is kind of what it looks like. So for those of you not as familiar, a lot of our junior achievement programs are not going to be like this. So it's never going to be somebody, with a slideshow and then they're just talking at you for half an hour or an hour or whatever the class period is. We do things like board games. We have a city planning lesson where they design a city, and so then they have a huge map that they lay out on the floor. Everybody contributes making different buildings, and then they're actually learning about city planning or districts or resources. So the goal with these programs is to get children really engaging with the material in a way that is more interactive than maybe what can always happen in a classroom, or maybe what their teacher has in mind when they're thinking, okay, April is Financial Literacy Month. I'm going to talk to them about this. That's where we can step in and say, let's talk to them about it, and then let's get them to interact with this material or to understand how we can use it in, real life applications. So once we get to middle school, it's a lot more intense in that we're really trying to get them to focus again on their future already. So this is from JA Economics for Success. So it's very, very heavy on the financial literacy aspect and then the work and career readiness aspect. So a lot of it is going to be things like making a budget. So if you kind of look at that choices at the bottom, so what we do is we make them draw cards for different careers, look at the average salaries for those careers, and then we say, okay, that's going to be your budget. We do make them take taxes out of it, which is a nice surprise for a lot of them that don't realize quite how much is taken out of their paycheck every month. And then we make them actually go through, okay, where are you going to live? What car are you going to drive? What are you going to do for entertainment on the weekend? And then kind of going through that with them makes them realize, okay, I thought that being a doctor would basically get me set up for success, and now you're telling me that I have thousands of dollars in student loans every month, and my life looks maybe a little different than I thought it would. Or just kind of getting them to, again, really understand that we're not just talking about, make as much money as possible. It's not always about pursue the highest degree that you can. It really is thinking about how does that actually look like in my life and the kind of future that I want to have. So these are high school programs. I really, really like this program, so that's why I included it. It's JA Career Success. Again, we are really heavy on that college and career readiness aspect. We understand that they will be applying to colleges in the future, so that's also why we're trying to emphasize that. But then we also have programs like JA Business Communications. So then we're talking about things like, how do you use a cell phone in the workplace? What is a business situation that you might encounter, and then what is an ethical way of handling that? Or how can company culture affect, that there might not be a right or a wrong decision, but there might be a decision that your boss wants to make, and where are you going to go from there? Or how can you end up in a company where you're proud of the work you're doing and you feel like you can embody that company's mission? So that really is where we start getting into deeper topics. We really try to focus on what does your future look like and preparing them to succeed in whatever that does look like for them. So real world applications. I keep saying real life applications, applying it to their futures, etc. We always try to incorporate different aspects of our curriculum into other events that we're doing with students or different programs that we're doing with students. So what we call the more traditional curriculum that you might be familiar with, those are our prepare classes, right? We're just trying to prepare them for maybe some other events or experiences that they either encounter through us or they encounter in their own lives. So I'm going to go into a little bit of what that looks like for us this year. So this is one program that we're doing. It's called Trick or Trash. We are sending these very tall recycling boxes that are covered in Halloween decorations to about 400 classrooms now, because the number is growing since I made this slide. And we have over 10,000 students participating. So now we're getting into talking about the recycling economy, innovative design, what is a circular economy and what does that have to do with the way that you might design a product or design a business around those things. So we're really trying to get students to understand, decisions that you make every day, even as simple as throwing away trash or recycling it, have implications for career opportunities that are available for you. Untapped markets, if you think about, the way mattresses are designed, for example, and those have a lot of valuable materials in them that might just get tossed into a landfill. So how can we design things in a way that is more thoughtful and, moving from the take, make, waste model is what we call it, to a circular economy. So that's one event that we have going on right now. Another thing is J Career Speaker Series. And this is mostly my colleague Kim was the one who headed this. She's amazing, and then we all kind of jumped on board. It's a wonderful program. And I say that because it really brought, especially over these past couple of years, opportunities that we just hadn't really thought would be possible to bring to students. So I'm gonna kind of go in order of just really all of the cool ones, but I chose these three because I think they're all really cool and great programs. So the first one is a goat farm. So he's actually willing to also take students onto the goat farm, and we do have students sometimes job shadow people, but this was a really nice opportunity for those schools that maybe can't go there in person to understand what are, the personal finance decisions that go behind trying to start a nonprofit or owning a farm. Why did he choose goats over other animals? Because it's very low cost to maintain goats, which I also didn't know. Making decisions like, do you allow visitors? Do you have people sign waivers? Just understanding those different decisions that go into running a business that may be a little more untraditional or just not quite what you would expect. Another one is a Secret Service agent. So she was a US Secret Service agent in the past. Now she's running for a governor position. And so she just kind of talks about different things that, students don't really think of. So she said, hey, did you know if you're a Secret Service agent, you can't have any tattoos and you can't have any criminal, offenses. And she's getting these students to think at a very young age, I didn't realize that by working in a, confidential position like that I have to start making those decisions now. So even if you're 18 and your parents technically don't have a say anymore and you go out and get a tattoo, you've technically cut yourself off from that career path, right? That's just not something that people know. And so we want to get that in front of students. This last one is really cool. So we actually had students record questions and then we sent them up to the International Space Station. And so then from there, the astronauts actually answered it live to the students. So all of the students' questions were pre-recorded, then they answered them for us and they streamed it on TV. And that was just such a cool opportunity. Obviously, we can't take students into space, but to allow them to ask astronauts questions that they're curious about, to understand, the physical challenges, the mental challenges, what kind of education goes behind being an astronaut, which is something you hear students say that they want to be, and then, maybe after this, they might be finalized in that decision, or maybe they decide it's not for them. But the point is, we're bringing those experiences to students' classrooms, and we're helping them understand that what they're doing in school will be relevant to their lives at some point. So that's always the goal with our programs. Another one is J Job Shadow. So with a lot of these, kind of like you were saying with Allstate, will be companies that they're already familiar with, but maybe they don't really know all that goes into that company. So this is an example from this fall. These are students who went to McDonald's and their corporate office, and then they're learning about product engineering. And so whenever you're making Happy Meal toys, that means somebody had to design those, an artist had to make, renderings of those, people have to market those things. What does that actually look like? And so the most important thing, again, is to get students really thinking about these opportunities that aren't right in front of them, right? It's okay if a student legitimately does want to be a firefighter, police officer, astronaut, whatever, but, those are things that they might think of or just, have on hand, but they're not necessarily opportunities that are realistic, that they might actually be interested in. We're trying to get them away from just thinking of, generic jobs or being kind of thoughtless in the way that they're pursuing their career paths, and really getting into those specifics of, when I was here that day, what did I enjoy? What didn't I enjoy about this? When this person is talking about their day-to-day life and their career, what appeals to me versus what doesn't? And so we're asking those more in-depth questions. And then does anybody have any questions? I know there might be some in the Zoom chat, and then I don't know if we're taking questions in real life too.
Well, thank you first of all for a great presentation and the energy you exhibit up there. It's fantastic. I have a question or two, but let's start with this room. Who has a question? I'll pass the microphone around. Oh, there's a shy group today. Hold on, Marshall. Here you go.
So how do you market your services to school districts? What are the channels where you arrange to provide your programming to different schools?
So a lot of it is going to be word of mouth. So a lot of the times we have teachers or principals of certain schools who have worked with us and have had a relationship with us for sometimes decades. And then sometimes just the past few years. So a lot of it is going to be word of mouth. When you have teachers moving from school to school sometimes, a lot of the times they're like, I remember having junior achievement at my last school, let's make sure we get it to this school. So that's a really big one. Another one is going to be working with organizations like Communities in Schools of Chicago. So they're wonderful. They're an organization that basically connects schools with programs that really encourage kids to stay in school at no cost to those schools. So they actually have like master's level and then bachelor level specialists that are actually placed into different CPS schools. And their main job is to connect those schools with different programs that are available to CPS. So that is another organization that we've worked with who are wonderful and lovely, and they do a great job of marketing our programs. And then finally, I also just like going to, events like these, events with CPS, and really just kind of getting teachers to understand our programs, understand that it's not at any cost to them, that it can be very flexible. And so it is just, again, a lot of word of mouth and kind of being on foot with that. But it's not too hard. I think a lot of schools, once they understand our programs and have knowledge of it, are very interested. So I'm lucky in that it's not a hard program to market.
I'm curious about what your financial model is. Is there a charge to the schools, or do you raise money on the side? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's at no cost to any of our schools. So we always offer, like technically schools can pay for their programs. I don't know that, at least with the schools I work with. So I mainly work with the K-8 Chicago schools. None of the schools that I've worked with in the past year have been paying for their own programs. We always offer them for free. So we do have a development team and a marketing team that works with JA of Chicago. That's their main job. And I'm lucky that I don't have to worry about our financials and I can just kind of give our programs to people. But yeah, no cost to the school.
What type of volunteer opportunities do you all have with Junior Achievement to work with other organizations like ours?
Yeah, so it can look pretty different. So as you saw, we have like JA Career Speaker Series opportunities. So those would just be things like saying, this is something that I was interested in as a child, and maybe you continue that and went into that field when you're older. Or sometimes it can be, all of my life I thought I was going to be a teacher. Well, I'm not a teacher now, and I'm going to speak to you about that. So those are a lot of the kinds of stories that students find impactful. So it's a lot of sharing out about that. The other programs are kind of like the ones I showed you. So I would say we maybe have like 20 to 40 programs. So those don't even cover it, but those kind of like traditional curriculum classes. So we do have like lesson plans. We have all of the kit materials and everything in a little kit that you get. And then you would go into an actual classroom and say, okay, today we're going to talk about high growth careers. And then you run through, the lecture with them, the activities that you're doing, and then something usually for them to kind of take home and take back to their teacher as well. So that's kind of what our programs look like. And then also I forgot to mention, and this one is a fun one, if you ever are open to having, let's say, middle school students come into your workplace, I know that's always fun for a lot of classrooms.
Great. I haven't heard from this table yet. No questions. All right. I had a question. Getting to these kids is not easy. You have to build a relationship. You got to make yourself attractive. What's the most effective tool to get them interested in you and participating? Is it providing a vision? Is it, what's the magic?
I can tell you about what I do, which you can choose whether or not you're going to pursue this route. What I always say to kids is, it's my job to look silly up here. It's my job to be goofy. If you're gonna make fun of somebody, you could make fun of me. And I always phrase it that way because I love working with middle school students and with high school students. But oftentimes those are the students who are going to be embarrassed to speak out, embarrassed to participate. And you also have to understand you're a stranger coming into their classroom for the first time. So whatever problems their teachers might be having, with getting those students to participate, that's going to be amplified by a lot. So the nice thing about our programs is they are designed to be delivered in 5 to 6 sessions. So you can choose to come back to the same classroom on multiple dates. So that's always one way to build, rapport with the students and to get familiar with the classroom. But the other thing is always just remember that it's exciting for them. It's friendly. They're not sitting at a desk for 50 minutes for their class period while their teacher talks at them. They're getting to explore different careers that are interesting to them. They're getting to speak in class, which some students, their teacher comes back to us and goes, so-and-so is really, going off in class and he never ever speaks to me like that in class. And so it's just kind of like understanding what students find interesting, but also understanding and trying to make them understand that they really do have an opportunity to talk about things that maybe they don't always get to talk about in school. And that's also sometimes making it relevant to them. Like, social media influencing is very big right now. So understanding, do you know what your finances will look like if you really want to pursue that, is something that can get a lot of kids engaged. Things like video game design. Do you have strong STEM skills? Are you good at science, math, working with other people in program management and project management? So it really is just trying to make yourself relevant to those students in the capacity.
Well, great. I think we've got time for one more question. Shelby, you want to go through this, or you can see it right here. Do you have programs for the African continent?
We do. So it is an international organization. So I don't know the exact numbers for that, but we are international. And I don't want to say we're on every continent, but I know we're on a lot of them. And I spoke to somebody who is from a JA program in the African continent. So for sure. And I can get you their contact info. I just have to do some digging.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Round of applause.
Oh, Timo, we do have one more.
No, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I have for you a Rotary mug
Oh my goodness.
to say thank you for joining us today. Drink a lot of Rotary coffee out of it, and then hopefully you come back, go to other clubs, and maybe join us.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Very good.
Timo, can you hear me?
All right. Before we go to the introduction of our guests, I was just telling Karen that I've taken an executive decision, which is my prerogative in this job, that we're going to create a holiday party committee. Now, our biggest party people, of course, led by a long lead, Mr. Collette. He's not here, but I'm going to put him in charge of that committee. For those who want to join Colette in the planning, let me know, and I look forward to the holiday party. It's time for us to get back together in person. All right, let's start with the visiting Rotarians. Any international Rotarians in this room? I don't think so. Oh, what? No, okay. How about online? I couldn't see that yet. Is there anybody on Zoom joining us from abroad? All right. I know we have visiting Rotarians in this room. Let us know where you're from, what brought you here, and yep. Tim and Angela Cochran. I'm sorry. Here you go.
Tim and Angela Cochran, we belong to the Rotary Club of Sandpoint, Idaho. We came to watch my oldest son in the marathon this weekend. So.
No, love Rotary. It's a great organization to belong to, and junior achievement really makes a difference, I think, too, in the schools.
Thanks for joining us today. Any U.S. Rotarians online? No? All right. Then guests of Rotary here in the room? All right. That takes me to give a couple of updates. Sarah, you want to join me for a second? To be followed by Wes.
Hi.
Hi.
So Wes and I have a couple updates for some volunteer activities. One of them is tonight, and Wes will be telling you about that. But I am here to present an opportunity with some seniors. That would be senior citizens. Are we still allowed to say that word? I don't know. Senior citizens, not seniors in high school, for a Meals on Wheels bingo. So this is happening on October 27th, which is a Thursday. So the time slots, the bingo starts at 10 o'clock. They want us there by 9:30 in the morning. So there's time slots for the bingo, and then there's time slots for serving lunch and then clean up afterwards. So I asked Tamara to set up the registration for either the bingo session or the lunch session, or if you're available, you can do both. But I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be very fun. I was warned that the seniors can get feisty with the bingo, so I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm very interested in how this is going to go. So please, the registration link is in the gyrator. It's October 27th for Meals on Wheels bingo.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, the Meals on Wheels event is at a senior center on West Lawrence Avenue. So you're going to have a good way to get there is what it comes out to. Tonight, we are labeling dictionaries at Reby Moving and Storage. I haven't checked. I don't know how many volunteers we have so far, but we'd be delighted if you would like to come and do that. It's from 5 till 7:30, and Reby is in the 2300 block, pardon me, of North Clark Street. Any questions? It's pretty simple. We have self-stick labels. You put them in the front of the dictionaries. Yes, Walt? Is there parking? Thank you. Yes, there is parking behind the building, and you enter from the back anyway. So the parking is, convenient. There's construction going on in the building next door, but there still is a driveway on the south side of the Reby building to go around to the back. Look forward to seeing any of you who would like to come tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Sarah, if you're too concerned about your safety, why don't you just bring your football gear and then you'll be fine.
I don't know what it's going to look like. I'll be interested to report back.
Very good. All right. Quick announcements. We have, of course, in our gyrator and on the club website, the meetings and the club committee activity. So that should be either here or on the gyrator. We've got our member minute, and I think, it's Shada. Shada has been named the All-State Insurance Agency Hall of Fame famer for excellent client service. All of you know her, and we all understand why. Because she's got the right personality for that and deserves this recognition. So she's not here today, but congratulations, Shada. Similar for the member minute, to the extent that you have things going in your life that you're proud of, that you want to share, please send it to either me or the office so we can share it with the group. And before we move on to our polio day, I would like to invite the banker in the group to harass me.
We're talking about junior achievement. Thank you. We're talking about junior achievement and how people save money. So we've reinitiated these little colorful animal piggy banks for you to share your generosity at lunch, change, extra dollars, whatever. And one of the motivations to do this is it's matched by Timo. And I will also match it going forward. So I think this is a great way for us to just raise some more money for all the projects that we work on. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thus far, we've already raised a couple $100. So it's, every dollar counts. Now we got two guys to match perfect. Polio donations. October the 25th is Polio Day. We'll have Michael McGovern here. He is the chair of the Rotary International Polio Plus Committee, and he'll join us to speak about polio. For our volunteer programs and events, thanks for those who signed up. That's fantastic. I think the office has shared that information already. And Alida, why don't you come up here and join me real quick to, you can throw more money in there later, but why don't you lead us into the the four-way test. Everybody stand, please.
The four-way test of the things that we think, say, or do. Number one. Is it true? Number two. Is it fair to all concerned? Number three. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number four. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And number five, will it be fun?
Will it be fun? Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.